Good morning, Nancy.
Good morning.
This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM, and we have with us at WZRD via Zoom Nancy Gomez. She is the Executive Director of Project Onward. Welcome, Nancy. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Very well, and so glad to have you here to discuss the wonderful work of Project Onward. First of all, could you tell our listeners what is Project Onward all about?
Project Onward is a studio and gallery dedicated to the creative growth of adult artists whose lives are impacted by mental illness and developmental disabilities. In other words, neurodiversity.
What about other forms of disability? Are those artists also able to display to work with the Project Onward?
Absolutely. As long as they are artists, they don't have to be artists who have had an education in art, but they have to be artists. They have to want to create art. They have to be able to want to sell art and take direction from Project Onward if needed.
Mhm. What kind of let's say, what is the gamut of artists that do participate? Are there artists that are visually impaired or yeah, with other disabilities, such as maybe even seniors? We know of seniors that really want to, they are artists, but it's of course it's hard for them to mobility is an issue for them. How does Project Onward try to work with the artists such as those?
Okay, so right now we have one artist who is wheelchair bound. All of our artists are adult artists over the age of 18. We have an artist over the age of 80 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we have artists that have difficulty speaking aloud.
Mm-hmm.
So we can accommodate any type of artist with any type of disability, but we can also accommodate somebody who is homebound and is unable to come into the studio. Those artists, what we will have them do is have someone in their family or caregiver come and pick up studio supplies, which we give for absolutely free. And they once they have the supplies, they can make art, and then they deliver the art to us, and then we sell it to them, and then we pay them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all free of charge.
Are there deadlines that they have to meet in producing their art, or do they give you a proposal about how long they'll need to take, and then the two Project Onward and the artist create a schedule from that?
Basically, what happens is that an artist who wants to become a Project Onward artist will give us a portfolio. We don't teach art. Again, we don't require that they have an education in art. All we require is that they want to make art, and they make good art, and it's sellable art, because we strive to create a career for our artists. We give 50% of the sale back to the artists, tax-free, and they basically we are a gallery and a studio, and the artist can make any kind of art that they want to. But sometimes we will suggest that we will have an exhibition, and the exhibition will be about a certain subject, and any artist that wants to participate in that exhibition will create art for that. So on a monthly basis, every third Friday, we have open studios here after 5 o'clock. I think it's at 6:30. And people from around the city of Chicago will come in and look at the art, and they're able to talk to the artists at that time. The artists love to talk about their art, their practice, and the content of their art. And then when that's a big sale for them if they sell the artwork. And also we strive to bring the artists to outside galleries of Project Onward, whether it's in Chicago or outside of Chicago. We've participated in the New York Outsider Art Fair, the Paris Outsider Art Fair. We participated in the art fair in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, just a few weeks ago, and we're heading out to Harbor, Michigan, Labor Day weekend to sell art there. So basically what we want to do is help our artists create art so they can sell it and they can get a paycheck.
Mm-hmm. When the artists start working with the Project Onward, do you see a progressive change in them? For instance, maybe they're less likely to, they're not as socially mobile. But let's say if they do have an exhibit and then they speak with potential customers and visitors and people who appreciate art, do you see any change in artists sometimes?
Absolutely. It's amazing how artists will start coming in here and socializing with other artists, seeing what the other artist is creating, and also talking to customers. Sometimes we have tours come through here of high school students, or other organizations will come in here, and virtually every single artist that we have here will talk about their artwork. They love speaking about their artwork. They're proud, very proud of what they can create here.
When you spoke about the tours from high school students, you said that some of your artists are over 18. Are some of those artists, do they come from those students that took a tour of Project Onward?
Absolutely, yes. We receive artists from, or we hear from artists that come from high schools. Art teachers will tell their students about us, and we'll get artists that will send us a portfolio or ask about us. We social workers, therapists. We get art, and then just from our social media, some of our artists have found us and will ask to be a member of Project Onward.
Do you work with Northeastern Illinois University? NEIU is that's where WZRD is. WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM is the student radio station of a community radio station, and of course the student radio station of NEIU.
Yes, we have in the past received a lot of help from Northwestern. I
Northeastern,
recently,
yeah, Northeastern Illinois University.
I'm sorry, no, did I
Yeah,
say
that's
Northwestern? I'm
okay.
sorry.
Oh,
Yes,
it's
we
easy
get,
to mess them up.
yeah. We have a lot of volunteers,
Mhm,
and volunteers come from all the universities, including Northeastern. No one at this time, but we do also have artists that have graduated from Northeastern
mhm. Yes,
in the art department.
yes. There's a big there's a major art program at NEIU. What about incarcerated people? And if they are also, there are a lot of people who are incarcerated and have mental disabilities. Do you work with any of those incarcerated people for in Project Onward?
Yes, we have several artists who have been incarcerated in the past. A lot of times, at least in one case, we had an artist who wasn't even aware that he could create art until he was incarcerated. And when he came out of, and it helped him get through that period of his life. And once they come out, they hear about us again, and they come to us, they show us their art, and they work with our artists here. So we really uh, we will take any artist as long as, again, they're willing to work with us and they have a good practice in making art.
That's we love that to hear that that any artist is so welcome as long as they have they are artists and they do have a disability. What about refugees? We work with a lot of refugees that have disabilities, and a lot of those refugees are artisans and artists. Have you ever worked with refugees with disabilities?
We've never had any refugee come into us at all, as far as I know. So, but again, that wouldn't be a problem with us at all.
Is it possible for us to connect you with some refugee organizations? We work with some a department at UIC that helps refugees with disabilities. Could we connect your two entities to try to see if there's anything that we could do?
Sure, absolutely. Yes. Again, we welcome all artists with neurodiversity, and they go through a process where they show us their artwork. And then once they become an artist with us, it's on a trial basis for 3 months. And after 3 months, they sign a contract that basically says that they want to create art and they want to sell art and abide by all the rules that we have, which is basically rules that are making sure that everybody can work together in peaceful harmony, basically.
Right. It's up to you whether you want to answer this question or not, but were there instances where maybe some artists were not able to abide the rules? What happened then?
Sure. We have artists that sometimes, for whatever reason, they're off their meds and start exhibiting some type of mental illness. We can usually tell that right away, and we'll sit down with the artist and talk to them about that. We definitely want all artists who need to take medication. They have to be on their medication. They have to be seeing a therapist if they require a therapist. That being said, we have on staff someone who is a licensed therapist and will work with an artist to get through that period of time, back on their meds, getting them their therapist again. Sometimes when people are on Medicaid or Medicare, they lose their therapist through there. And it's difficult for them to get back on or to get another therapist. And so there might be like 3 months, maybe even 6 months, which is not good. During that time, if they're having a really bad time, I will tell them, you have to work through this. And if you anger issues might be a problem. If you continue with anger issues, we just can't tolerate that here. You have to go home, you can work at home, and then you can come back when you're better, basically. So sometimes we don't allow altercations in any way, shape, or form. It's definitely, if there's a fight or a threat, then that person is either suspended or even fired.
What about the social workers? Do you have at least one social worker at Project Onward to help your artists if they need one?
We were very lucky to receive a grant where we were able to hire a licensed therapist, and she is also a social worker. So a lot of our artists are becoming of the age, like median age is 35, 45, and they're starting to have issues with their health. such as diabetes, and they're also having issues with housing once they get retirement age. So we recognize that, and we try to help them overcome that by helping to find social workers for them to get them housing, and get them transportation if they need transportation through PACE. There's a lot of work that has to be done through that because they're working, with the government, and sometimes depending on how things can be expedited depending on how serious it is at the time. So we can do that, and we do that. Also, we have a lot of social workers that come to us that they want to volunteer. They might be doing social work in other fields, but they want to work with people who are neurodiverse, or they want to work with people who are artists, and they come to us. So
That's
we're
amazing.
lucky. Yeah, we're very lucky. We're very
Yeah,
lucky.
that is really, really amazing because I know for a fact that I've been told time and time again that social workers are really they're overstressed, overworked, and don't have any time. That you could Project Onward could have them on as volunteers. That's almost like that's wonderful.
Oh, yes, it is. It is wonderful. Sometimes I, would like to pay them to work for us, but it's hard. You can't, we can't compete with what they can make on in whoever's paying them. But also with insurance and things like that. But again, we were very lucky to get somebody who can do both and is working for us now. And it's very helpful for the artists. The reason we received that money was because right after COVID, usually once or twice a year, we'll have an artist who will have difficulties with suicide ideation, and we either take them to a hospital or make sure they get back on their meds so that they can get better. But right after COVID, it started with in 1 year we had 6 artists threaten suicide, and that's one of my worst fears. So luckily, we were able to talk to a foundation that gave us money to hire somebody. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to do it. It's very difficult, money-wise.
So that's how you got the grant, just by by your contacts. Is there a grant worker that's working with Project Onwards to for try to get more money for the artists and the organization?
Oh, yes, definitely. I hired a development manager recently, and he is in charge of grant writing and looking for special situations with exhibitions, and also foundation money, donor money, and corporate money.
Do any of your artists are you able to connect your artists with participating in art festivals? There are so many art festivals in Chicago during the summer.
Oh,
Do,
yes, definitely. Summers are very, very busy for us. We are at Randolph Market. Used to be every month, but after COVID, it's I think 3 or 4 times a year. Yes, we've been in numerous places like um, Wicker Park, State Street. Gosh, why is my brain going dead right now? Trying
what
to
is that? What is that? The Christmas one, Chris Kringle Mark or whatever mart it is that Christmas mart and in the Loop.
Oh, no, we've never tried that. I've never seen anything that we could actually do there. So no, we haven't been in that. But we've been in the Glenwood Art Fair,
Mhm.
the Lakeview, um And as I mentioned before, we're going to the fair out in Michigan on
Mm.
Labor Day, in Labor Day, on Labor Day.
Uh, could you tell our listeners how Project Onward began?
Well, we started out with a program called Gallery 37, which taught high schoolers art. And after which it was a youth employment program operated by the city of Chicago, the Department of Cultural Affairs. And that was for high schoolers from the age of 16 to 18, and they created art, music, dance. I think they even cooked. Um, but once they graduated, the first group graduated, there was nowhere for them to go with these skills that they had learned.
Mm.
So the city decided to create Project Onward.
Mm.
And that was for any person who was at over the age of 18. And and then just from that was in 2004. And then in 2013, we decided to become a nonprofit and move to the Bridgeport Art Center in Bridgeport on the south side, and grow our artists roster. It's now up to 60 artists.
Mm. Yeah, that was one of my questions I wanted to ask. How many artists do you have uh, on your roster? Are these artists, have you accumulated these artists from like about 2013? Or how, how does the number of artists fluctuate?
Every year we'll have an artist that might leave for
Oh.
whatever reason. They might be sick, too sick to create art, or they move out of the city.
Mm.
And we even try. There's an artist that can't come in because their caregiver was impacted by COVID, so they're just working from home basically.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's so we get new artists, and then some artists just leave. Basically, though, the majority of our artists have been here since the beginning, since 2004.
So, how does it actually work? Do the artists go to the Bridgeport Center to create their art, and they live somewhere else, or is there some living quarters there for the artists, like maybe a room and maybe some common areas?
No, we have a studio and a gallery. We have about 6,000 square feet on the fourth floor of the Bridgeport Art Center. And the artists all come to us from all around the Chicagoland area, including some suburbs.
Mhm.
And they work here from 11 to 5, Wednesday through Saturdays. And we're just open to them to come in. So some artists will come in once a week. Some artists will come in the full week. It all depends on what they want to do, but we do require that they work at least 3 to 4 hours a day,
Mhm.
um, and at least once a week.
Mhm. So, in other words, if the artists were to be at home and working on their art, they keep a log of when they start and when they finish on that day.
No, we don't really require that. We just require that they create the artwork.
Mhm.
We just recently came back from a residency that we created through the generosity of one of our board members who has property in Sheboygan. So we took 6 artists out to Sheboygan, um, and we had workshops for them there, and a very large studio that was also given to us for that period of time for them to work in. And the artists would work there from 11 to 5, go out to dinner, and sometimes even do some after work activity like bowling or um, miniature golf. And even after that, they wanted to go back to the studio, which was opened, you know, all night, and go back to the studio and work until midnight and longer, and just keep creating art. They just love creating art, just like any artist who wants to create art. You take all your free time and you put it into your artwork. And well, you know, they don't clock in, they don't clock out. It's they just come in, and if they can't come in that day, they should let us know that they can't come in. Our artists who come in more than once a week, or who are artists who have been here for a long time, they get their own special space within Project Onward, where they create art all the time. Otherwise, we have some tables in the center of the studio, and people who only come in once a week, or people who are on that 3-month period, when before they become an artist full-time with us, they will work right there. And some artists really require that somebody watch them so that they can stay on task and continue to create art. We have the majority of our artists are on the spectrum. Well, I guess it's about almost 50-50. Artists who have developmental disabilities versus mental illness, and sometimes both.
And also, when we visited the gallery space, it seemed as if there were some works in progress. It was, of course, the artist who was being featured, and then there did seem to be works in progress. So that's those works are probably what you were just discussing about those artists. They come in, they work, and then maybe in the future and some other day they'll return and continue to work.
Absolutely. Some artists can create work very quickly, and they're here longer. And then there's some artists that it'll take them about 6 months to create a piece of art. But usually when that happens, the artwork is just amazing. It's outstanding. So it all depends on the artist.
Who which are there the artists that have been with the Project Onward for the longest time? How long has that time been?
Oh, since 2004. So next year is going to be our 20th anniversary. We're planning some big things to come at that time. But yes, we've had artists who started out at Gallery 37, transition to Project Onward. So that's over 20 years, you know, 24 years.
Do
That's
any of
23 years. It's
wow,
amazing.
yes.
Mhm.
Do any of those artists that have been with Project Onward for so long, do any of them become a staff member in some capacity?
No, not at all. They want to be artists.
Right.
That being said, a lot of our artists do have outside jobs, working elsewhere, and they fit us in. They come in on Saturdays, or they work part-time. And we have artists who work at restaurants, the airport, factories. So artists work at various places to get more income. You know, but being an artist doesn't really make you a lot of money. Let's but you know, we hope to have some artists that do make a lot of money. So doing that, we have a creative director, and her job is to take the artist's career further by bringing them to other galleries and having exhibitions outside of Project Onward, getting their artwork into the permanent collections of museums, which we have, and also to find collectors of their artwork. And this is all so that we can advance the artist's career. And it's working. We've been doing this for since we became a nonprofit, and we have artists who are in the permanent collections of the National Mexican Museum here in Pilsen, in the Museum van der Geest in Amsterdam, and in the Intuit Outsider Art Museum on Milwaukee.
What is the most challenging part of your work as executive director of Project Onward?
Bringing in money so that we can continue doing this. That's the hardest part. I'm always begging for money. I'm always looking for ways to make money for the artists. That being said, I was retired and started here as a volunteer back in 2016. Then I went on the board and was helping with the finances. And then when Project Onward needed an executive director, I stepped into the role, and I love my job. There is nothing difficult about this job.
How long have you been executive director?
2018, January of 2018.
Mm.
So I just love it.
And what is the most rewarding part of your job? There is a lot to choose from, but let's say let's have you pick one if you can.
Seeing the growth within the artists is my favorite thing. We'll bring in an artist, and they'll be creating a certain thing. I don't know. Let me think. Maybe they're doing landscapes. Let's just say that they're doing landscapes, but they see other artists doing something else, and they'll start trying to do. We don't teach art. That's another thing. We don't teach art. We can help facilitate their art making, but we don't sit there and say, hey, let me teach you how to do this and that. But say an artist wants to do portraits. They've never done portraits before. They're making other types of art. And we'll say, go ahead, do a portrait. Find somebody to do a portrait and do a portrait. And then they because they're artists, they're always able to pivot and do something different. And I'm always trying to figure out ways with staff here to get the artists to look outside and be inspired to create something different. So when I see that happening, I'm so proud. I'm always amazed, and it's strange because it happens almost every month where I'll see what somebody has created, and just they always top themselves, from one month to the next, no matter what we ask them to do or what type of an exhibition that they're in, that they always amaze me, and that's my favorite part of the job too.
You mentioned earlier that there were leisure activities such as going to bowling or other things that are outside, like and then afterwards, after the leisure activity, then they come back and then do more art. Was that your plan in the first place to bring them to experience other activities, and then have those activities maybe inspire them to continue inspire them in their ongoing work?
Right. Yes. So we don't do that on a regular basis. The only reason we took them bowling and things like that was because we were in the residency, in a different state and city.
Oh.
But that being said, we're offered special tickets to go different places like the Shed Aquarium or MCA, and to see exhibits, or to go to outside galleries to see their exhibit. And then we'll just gather everybody and ask them if they want to do it. And if they want to do it, then we try to get them there, sometimes via bus, or Everybody just gets there on their own, and we meet up at a certain time, and then we go and see other things together. And that's because I think that every experience that they get helps them with their artwork. But leisurely, what we will do is have karaoke parties. Our artists love singing, and we even have some artists who are in a band. So they love listening to music and creating music, and our karaoke parties are absolutely epic. That's a lot of fun. We like to have at least one or two a year. We're having one on the 24th of this year. It's Thursday. It's coming up actually.
August 24th, right?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Have any of the artists that are musically inclined, do they ever get a recording contract or have published recording work? Because WZRD is a recording is a radio station, and we would love to play some of the recordings that, if there are any, that your artists have created.
No, but there's a couple of artists that definitely would like something like that. We have an artist that creates music, and always looking for other opportunities to create art, whether it be music or art or whatever they're into. So yeah, well, I wouldn't mind talking to them about your program.
Awesome, that would be great. Because music, in a way, in a very special way, and entirely is an art form.
Yes, definitely. Definitely an art form. Would be nice if we could at some point in the future incorporate that into our program, but right now it's just visual arts.
Mhm. Right, because you're more interested in having cell art and exhibiting art. Music is more like a band and recording, but the door is always open, right? In the
Yes.
future.
Yeah, yes, they do that on their own time, but sometimes like for our holiday party, if the band wants to play, or for a fundraiser that we're having, if the band wants to play, then they can come to Project Onward after hours and practice, because that's an issue of where can they practice together,
Mm.
and then they play. But they don't play for money at this point. It would be nice if they would be able to make some money doing that. Um, it's two singers, a bass player, and a tambourine player. So we have three of our artists in the band, and then the other band members are volunteers.
When you let's see. If artists wanted to contact Project Onward, oh yes, the Project Onward, the name is very appropriate for your organization. How did the name come about?
I really don't know, because I wasn't around at that time.
Mm.
But yeah, that's a good question, because I don't really know that. Maybe I knew it at one point, but I don't know it now. So I'm sorry I can't answer that question. I loved it. I love what it means. And we have an arrow, which is also part of our logo, Project Onward. So yeah, I just on the television, on it, I forget which morning show it was today, there's another nonprofit basketball that just started out on the South Side, and they're called Project Swish. And I thought that's really cool project. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that fits with their work too. Well, the Project Onward, it's such a great representation of all that we have discussed today. The name of it, the name of your organization, and also it's a great logo. Oh, maybe do you have any idea who created the logo? It's a really beautiful logo.
Yes, we went through several variations of the logo, and we finally settled on the black and white arrow with the letters project in black and the onward in white.
Mhm.
Um, and then the background is always blue sky with clouds. Um, when we besides the logo, whenever we put out anything for social media or marketing. So that's what but we had it in different variations with different colors, sometimes all different colors of each word. But then we finally settled on the black and white with the blue background, and it seems to work.
Did you ever have an option with the black and white being switched between the two words?
No,
No,
no, no. Branding is very important.
exactly.
And so once we settled on it, that's what we plaster that everywhere. We have pins and we have signage here. And yeah, so everywhere that we have Project Onward, it's the same logo.
Oh, well, actually, what I meant was when you had a choice for selecting the logo, did you was there also the option of the black and white switched around for the
Oh,
to
I'm
be?
sure there was.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm sure there was. I do have in my file somewhere all different iterations of our logo.
Oh.
And yeah, we did. And we actually had our artists create the logo. We did
Uh,
not create it, but we told them what we wanted, and then they would just draw it up for us.
mhm.
So
Well, that's the best because you're using your artists instead of hiring out. It's there's much more heart in the result if you do that.
right. Absolutely. Yes.
If artists or people who support artists that have neuro disabilities, how could they contact you?
Um, through social media, through our website, projectonward.org. We're also on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, um, email. Once you go on our once you go on our website, you're able to go on our mailing list so that you'll see at least once or twice a month, we'll put out what we're doing. Um, and then anytime new artwork is created by various artists, we'll put them on Instagram and also um, Facebook. And well, we put it out there all the time. There's always something.
As I read some of your Facebook posts. They're really really good. Who writes them? Do you?
No, we have a social media person
Mhm.
working for us, and her job is to talk to the artist, see what's being created, and create posts for us. And she's really good.
Again, what is your website, Nancy?
Projectonward.org.
So,
O-R-G.
okay. Well, Nancy Gomez, Executive Director of Project Onward, thank you so much for joining us at WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM today. And please continue your good work, and maybe we'll talk again in the future.
Thank you. I would love that. Appreciate you having me on.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.